Welcome to Solutions for the World. Here we don't focus on the grift and constantly complain about the world's problems to keep you in a constant state of anxiety, but instead guide you on the current realistic ways to solve issues that harm the world we live in. This topic is on everyone's mind, and that has to do with economic debt and inflation. Most people have seen the debt clock going up with no end in sight in the United States. And it concerns a lot of people. Not only is the debt going up dramatically in the US, but almost everywhere else on the planet. There are some who don't care about the debt, and the reason why they feel this way is because of macroeconomics, aka MMT, or modern monetary theory. The belief is that monetarily sovereign countries like the US, UK, Japan, and Canada, which spend, tax, and borrow in a fiat currency they fully control, are not operationally constrained by revenues when it comes to federal government spending. To put it simply, such governments do not rely on taxes or borrowing for spending, since they can print as much as they need, and are the monopoly issuers of the currency. Since their budgets aren't like a regular household's, their policy should not be shaped by fears of rising national debt. Also, that taxes create an ongoing demand for currency, and are a tool to take money out of an economy that is getting overheated. Meaning the supply would not meet demand, and would rise prices. This goes against the conventional idea that taxes are primarily meant to provide the government with money to spend on building infrastructure, funding social programs, and other needed projects. If this is your belief, then it explains how the current economies work. But why isn't the system working? And is MMT infallible? The reason this system doesn't work is because of politics, direct control of money, and the lack of will to improve society. Most of the spending goes towards military offensive efforts and corporate bailouts. This adds to MMT being a failed system, but the primary reason it's not perfect is because it does not solve the problem with inflation. Some who believe in MMT do not believe that some central banks are private entities. Primarily the main one, the Federal Reserve Bank, and believe the government has the sole control to print money. This can be seen as false, because during the 2008 bailouts, the Federal Reserve had given out trillions to other entities around the world, all without the consent of Congress. Only if Congress nationalizes the central bank, or takes back the power to print money to the Treasury, is when the government will have direct access and control over its spending. We recommend that if government gets complete control of money distribution, the debt can be controlled by activating quantitative easing tactics for societal improvement spending, such as infrastructure and emergency relief funding. Debt is still a problem with modern monetary theory, because it does not take into account the dollar being the world's reserve currency. As a result of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the US dollar was officially crowned the world's reserve currency, and was backed by the world's largest gold reserves. Needing a place to store their dollars, countries began buying US Treasury securities, which they considered to be a safe store of money, but, because of massive stagflation, President Nixon announced in 1971 that the greenback would no longer be exchanged for gold to boost economic growth for the United States. That led to the creation of the petrodollar system, where the US and Saudi Arabia agreed to set oil prices in US currency. Because of these changes, the US still remains as the world's reserve currency. If it loses this status, hyperinflation would commence, and because the US is not completely self-sufficient in production and resources, all imported goods will be very expensive. This is why there has to be a control on the debt. So if that day comes to fruition, price control will be able to be maintained. So what are the ways to control debt and stop hyperinflation? There are many. The least suggested idea is to liquidate the assets of a nation, meaning through property and resources. This, of course, would break up any nation, plus it would be a case for national security, and is not recommended for anyone. We will discuss more realistic ways and possible solutions in the Part 2 video on economic solutions. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. If you have anything you want to discuss, then feel free to debate in the comments below. If it turns out the information you provide is valid, I will make sure to do an update video later. Also, you can donate to our cause to solve the world's problems. Remember, you can change the world, if you really want it.